Welcome to Elevate Your Mind, your number one podcast for peak performance strategies that will enhance your mindset, develop your emotional skill set, and maybe, just maybe, be the catalyst to create positive forward momentum in your life. Here's what's to come from today's pod.
Because you see, that's the part where I'm refueling. That's the part where I come to my emotional home, so to speak, and allow myself to refuel, ready to go again. Boom! Welcome back to the podcast. I hope you are very, very well. We are into February. Time's flying. Absolutely flying. It just feels like it was the start of the year yesterday. And today's particular episode is around your emotional home. Your emotional home. Now, what is an emotional home? Well, an emotional home is like any other home. It is the place that feels safe, feels familiar. It's the place that you go to more often than any other place. It's the place where you go to for comfort, where you know the lie of the land, and it feels like, if for want of a better word, where you spend most of your time in your natural place. We have an emotional home that acts like any other home in our life. And see, the problem lies in the place that people don't like where they live. And so this particular episode is going to be about how you can create your emotional home and design it in the exact ways of the home you would love to live in. The same way you would do your physical home. If you don't like your physical home, you change some certain elements to make it a place that you like. We can do that emotionally as well, and that's what we're going to do in this particular episode. So strap in, get yourself ready. If you're on your way to work or listening to this in the car, you're doing odds and bits around the house, or whether you're just sat there listening to me on your lunch break, take some notes, make some mental notes, get your iPhones out, get your Androids out, get your notes apps out and take some notes there, whatever it may be, because you're going to want to take down some certain things that we're going to talk about today, because it's going to benefit you hugely. Because when I do what I do here, when I do this and I work with people, people see a very energized part of me. They see a part of me that allows me to be energized, take control, overcome, level up, challenge this, grow and expand, become more. And people see that side of me, which is wonderful. But I'm sure you'll agree, if that was the only side to me, then it would become a very tiring place. You see, even the fastest Formula One cars still need a pit stop every once in a while. And it's the same for our emotions. When it comes to energy and drive and ambition and taking control, it's a huge part of who we are. But there's a reason that we need 6, 7, 8 hours sleep a night to recharge, to refuel. The issue comes is that emotionally people stay stuck, like that Formula One car going round the track, sprinting, speeding round that track. And the only issue is normally they find out the hard way by running out of fuel. By running out of fuel, that then means that they quote unquote break down. And as you see there, if you're watching with me on YouTube here, the reason that that's in quotation marks is because this breakdown is also what people suffer from in their life. They go gung-ho, they go 100 miles an hour, always doing this, doing that, turning up here, turning up there, having to be this, having to be mum, having to be dad, having to be the worker, having to be the brother, having to be the sister, having to be the friend, do all these roles and things in their life that eventually they break down and they need patching back up, taking back to the pits, putting the car back together, and then they go back out. But most people don't learn their lesson. Why? Because we need to learn the lesson of what it is to come home. If you've got a home to come to, think of it like this. If you've been out all day running errands, you get up at 6 a.m, you're out, you do a food shop, you come back, you drop the kids off at school, then you have to go out and you're running errands, you're buying this birthday present for this person, you're having to sort that out for that holiday you're about to go on, then you need to pop round your mum's to make sure she's doing okay, then you need to drive over to Sandra's to pick up that thing that you said you was going to pick up, then you have to get back to the post office to make sure that that's done, then you have to take the dog for the walk, and then you've done all of this, and you start at 6 a.m. and then you finish at 6 p.m. What is the best feeling in the world? What is the best feeling in the world of a day of running errands? I'll tell you. Not that you need me to. When you come home, all the jobs are done, you kick your shoes off, you have a cup of tea and you go, oh, on the sofa. Because you know we're good. Some of you are listening to this now going, that would be nice, Matt, but I don't get to do that because you see, you can do that. It's just that you haven't created a space for your home to live in all of this. Because when you do, like what I said, that energized, driven part of me, which is a huge, huge part of me, ultimately is fueled by a part of me that sits underneath that allows me to feel calm, content, at peace, and at ease. Because you see, that's the part where I'm refueling. That's the part where I come to my emotional home, so to speak, and allow myself to refuel, ready to go again. Because I don't care who you are, if you're energized, driven, ambitious, which is a wonderful, wonderful part and generally is at the forefront of where I am during my day, if you don't have a place to come home to, where the peace, the calm, the appreciation in your mind, in your emotions is there, you're going to feel like you're always out of balance. You're out of kilter. You're going to feel like you're being pulled around from pillar to post. Use this analogy here. Let's say you live in London. Let's say you have a physical home in London, okay? You know that you can drive to Manchester, to Glasgow, to Newcastle, to Devon, to Cornwall, to Suffolk, to Hull or to Sheffield. You could drive all over the country with the safety of the knowledge that you have got a home to come back to in London. Now watch this. Let's say you are homeless. Let's say you are homeless. You don't leave the small town in London at all. Why? Because you don't feel like you can be that as expansive, as freeing, because ultimately you need to create some familiarity. You need to create some safety for yourself, and so you know a certain area, and you know this. And I've worked with, and I've had the fortune of having many conversations with people, because it's an area I feel extremely passionate about, with people in the homeless community. And they were explaining that some of them had been homeless for 20 plus years in a certain area. And what I mean by certain area is a certain area in London. Hadn't left that place. Why? Because that is their home. And if you don't feel safe in a certain home, you're not going to be expansive to go and feel and experience the other areas of England, in this case, that you can do. How this applies to your emotions is if you don't have a safety within your emotional home of where you want to be, you're not going to feel the freedom to go and be expansive with love or with joy or with confidence or with appreciation or with drive and ambition and growth. You're not going to go and do those things. Why? Because you don't even know where your centre is. You don't even know where your home is to come back to. So you constantly feel like you're being pulled around from pillar to post. And if I end up in Glasgow or Sheffield or Hull, does that mean I have to stay there? I don't know, because you don't have London to come back to. This analogy is incredibly important, because when it comes to creating our emotional home, we have to understand what is the emotion that I want to feel most familiar, most safe, most... Where do I want to reside most of the time? Where do I want to reside most of the time? Because if I can create that home for myself, that's where I want to reside most of the time, I can go and be as expansive and as freeing as what I wish to be in life, because I always have the knowledge and the safety that this is where I can come back to. Is this piecing together for you? Because it's incredibly, incredibly important. People say to me, and it's funny that people say to me, Matt, you're so energized, you're so driven, you're so passionate all the time. God, isn't it tiring? I'm like, no. If anything, I get more energized the more energized that I get. But what people don't see beneath the curtain, behind the curtain even, not beneath it, behind the curtain, is the part of me that is refueling, that is being calm, safe, familiar with and content with where I am. Not having the moment, because what people say, the moment I sit down, I have to be busy because my mind's racing 100 miles an hour and doing this. Yeah, because you haven't created a home. So to make that oversimple, you haven't created a home. You're basically saying, drive to Sheffield and be comfortable there. It's like, oh, I'm not familiar with this place. I don't know this place. A great home doesn't happen by chance. It happens by design. You know, when you move into your home where you live now, I guarantee it wasn't the exact thing that you moved into, unless you moved in yesterday. It wasn't the exact thing you moved into. You have designed it to make it your home. You have painted the walls. You have changed the furnishings. You have put your pictures up on the wall. You have put your stamp on it to make it your home. What have you done in your emotions to make a certain emotion your home? If it is peace and calm and content that you want at the absolute backbone of who you are, what have you done to create that as a home? Because most people have the audacity, and it is absolutely shocking, most people have the audacity to think they're going to be frustrated, pissed off, annoyed all day, and then they think that they can just flick a switch and go, right, now it's time to be calm. And then they get even more pissed off, frustrated and annoyed with themselves that they can't be calm. It's like, huh? Like, in what world does that work? In what world does that work? If you want a home where you feel comfortable and safe and secure and familiar, you need to design it and have a familiarity with to know what you're coming back to. That happens through consistent things that you're putting in place. It comes through a place of me dedicating some time to say, I'm going to create this time to refuel, to be at quote unquote home emotionally, to do this time. Yeah, Matt, but I'm so busy all the time. No. Like, you're lying to yourself. I don't care who we are. There are moments when the kids have gone to bed, when you've done this, when you've done that, when you doom scroll or you watch crap TV or you do something or whatever it may be, and you do it to mind numb yourself. So then you can just go to bed and then wake up and do the same. So we always have time. We always have time. It's just a case of what are you doing with it. So let's not tell ourselves that lie. Because if you're really passionate about this and really want to create a shift in this and not be so helter-skelter, pulled around from pillar to post, you know, frustration, annoyed, anxious, worried, doubtful, whatever it may be, because, you know, I'm getting pulled around. We need to create a home. What that means by creating a home is by having a place to come back to where I can feel at peace, calm, safe, familiar and at ease. And that isn't going to happen by just clicking my fingers and thinking that that's going to show up in that way. It's going to happen by me consistently going there. I've got so many analogies for you here. You know, when you moved into the home where you live now, unless it's your childhood home, that first night, that second night, even that third night, did it take a bit of getting used to? It felt right. That's why you chose that home. But it took a little while of getting used to. You were used to living in a different home for a while. But then after a day, a week, a month, you got to know your home and you got to know your surroundings and you felt more at ease with it. There is no difference here to what I'm explaining emotionally. But these emotions that you want to experience won't happen by chance. They will happen by design. And if we need to be driven, passionate, and do that during the day, amazing, like what most of us do. We go to work, we do this, we have these errands that we need to run during the day. Great. I need a home to come back to. What does yours look like? What do you want it to be? Write it down. This is why I said you're going to need your notes or whatever. Write that home down. You know what your physical home is. What does your emotional home mean to you? The place where you go to feel familiar, safe, in control, at peace. What does that look like to you? What's the type of actions that you take? How do you breathe? You might go, oh, what do you mean, how do I breathe? Yeah, I'm being specific, because when you can get more detailed, the more homely it feels. You know, if I just said, I want 3 bedrooms and the walls painted blue. Okay. If I said, I want 5 bedrooms, I want the master bedroom painted green, I want the spare bedroom painted red, I want the ensuite painted yellow, and then I want picture. I'm being more detailed, more intricate, but guess what? It's going to feel more like mine. The more detailed you can be about your home here, the better. The more detailed you can be about how you want to feel around this, the more it's going to feel familiar to you. Because as I say, we all want to be driven, purposeful, passionate, excited about life, but we need a fuel. Otherwise that fuel burns out. And especially when we're going to want to be expansive and live life to the full and visit these places metaphorically around England. We want to visit the Manchesters, we want to visit the Cornwalls, we want to visit the Suffolks. We're never going to do that unless we've got a safety of a home that we know we can come back to. Meaning we're never going to be confident, purposeful, passionate, driven, ambitious in our life if we don't feel like there's a centre to who we are emotionally. So many of us were so pulled around by life, like what I said earlier, we're so busy being mum or dad, then we're being the worker, then we're being the son or daughter, then we're being the friend, then we're being the, I don't know, the colleague at work to someone else who's going through something. And then way back somewhere, we get left in the abyss. And we're like, oh, I ain't got time for that. And any time we do get is just trying to, because I have no energy to do anything. So then I have to just go to sleep, wake up, and then I'm on the same rat race again the next day. Doesn't sound like a pretty safe and familiar and nice home for me to be in. No wonder I'm developing certain traits. Any fuel that you want to use in life will come from what you put in the tank. So the particular episode that we're sharing together here today is about what's the fuel that you want. Let me rephrase that. How are you going to fuel? How are you going to do that? How are you going to design an emotional home for yourself that it feels safe, secure, in control, familiar for you, in a place where you can give yourself that peace? Because when it comes to tomorrow and you want to be expansive and grow and purposeful, passionate, you know you've got a full tank of fuel ready to do it, and then you've got a surefire way to come back and refuel that tank that evening or however. For those of you who have worked with me, this is the process that I take you through, the heart-led power process. And you know it very well. It's a very moving practice. It's a very emotional practice. But it's a beautiful practice that allows us to come home. And so I don't want the nature of the way that I've positioned this podcast of explaining the home to get lost on you, because you're going to have one in some way, shape or form. But like what I explained earlier, you're going to either choose it and design it and have it there, or you're going to be quote unquote homeless and then not feel free to expand and grow and go wherever you need to, because I just need to keep some form of safety, so I'm just going to stay in these types of ways here. But when you do that, you can't experience anything that life has to give you, emotionally, physically, mentally, in any area. Design your emotional home in the way that you want it, and know that you've always got that place to come back to. And then you'll be as expansive and free and joyous and passionate and purposeful as you want. Okay? Slightly different energy to this podcast. Slightly different energy, but incredibly important. So go and take this. Hopefully you've taken your notes down. If you've got questions, you know where to find me. But go and action this in your life now. Go and action this and elevate your life now in the ways that you want. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. I look forward to seeing and serving you again very soon. It is time to elevate your mind. Take care.